River. The Mexicans have another, more poetic name for the Rio Grande, Rio Bravo del Norte. These names, however, only hint at the majesty and the mystery surging in this most historic river. North America's fifth longest river, the Rio Grande springs to life 2.5 miles high in the San Juan Mountains of southwestern Colorado, roaring and tumbling to the sea 1,800 miles away. For more than 1,200 of those miles, the river forms the boundary between the United States and Mexico. It's literally a ribbon of life, bisecting mountain ranges, carving mighty chasms, and binding the lives of the millions who inhabit its banks. The Rio Grande, in its more generally known aspects in Texas, is a fairly broad, shallow stream that flows through the lush greenery south of El Paso. It staggers between gaunt and stony banks in the desert lands between Lantry and Del Rio, and finishes in a grand sweep through the Garden of Eden known as the Valley. What few people realize, but after flowing under the International Bridge at Presidio, it has suddenly decided to cross the mountains to the east, and it has succeeded in this feat by cutting some of the most amazing canyons on the American continent. After traversing 1,024 miles from its origin, the river sweeps under Gerstacker Bridge, the beginning of the magnificent lower canyons of the Rio Grande. This remarkable stretch of river begins at La Linda and ends many days and miles later at any of several possible takeout points far downriver. In between lies some of the most remote and beautiful country anywhere. The information presented in this film was accurate at the time of filming. Major flash floods from side canyons and releases from dams in Mexico occasionally totally change the nature of any rapids formed where the tributary flow enters the river. The river's water level fluctuates constantly. Major rapids can become minor ripples or be shifted to different locations as boulder beds are rolled about by major rises. Sandbars disappear and relocate with every rise and fall in the river. Gerstacker Bridge is named for the CEO of Dow Chemical Company. It was constructed in the early 1960s in conjunction with the development of the fluorospar plant in La Linda, Mexico. This is the staging area for river trips to the lower canyons of the Rio Grande. This stretch of river is the portion of the Rio Grande that has been declared wild and scenic by the United States Congress. It is still one of the last frontiers in the lower 48 states. This land appeared to be so empty that the Spanish dubbed it the Despoblado, or uninhabited land. After passing through Heath Canyon, flatlands extend off on each side of the river to distant horizons as the river cuts its way through the lowlands. This entire region is considered part of the Chihuahuan Deserts, one of 4 major desert regions in North America. The Chihuahuan is a relatively young desert, evolving after the last ice age ended approximately 8,000 years ago. The Rio Grande represents the lowest, hottest, and driest portion of this desert. One reason for the aridity of the Chihuahuan deserts is the dominance of descending high pressure. Another is the rain shadow effect of the mountains. The high peaks of the Sierra Madre Occidental and the Sierra Madre Oriental, which runs north to south along the backbone of Mexico, present a major barrier to the passage of moisture-laden air from the Pacific Ocean. By the time the air masses ascend to these mountains, much of their moisture has been lost. Because of this, the southwestern air is capable of absorbing massive amounts of moisture before it becomes saturated. The air's ability to absorb moisture causes sweat to evaporate quickly, causing people to feel cooler than they would in similar temperatures in more humid regions. However, because moisture is wicked away from the skin so readily, a person visiting the lower canyons must drink far more water to keep from dehydrating. As a minimum, one person must have at least 1 gallon of water per day. The lack of humidity also poses another potential problem for visitors. In the lower canyons, the clear, dry desert air allows the land surface to cool rapidly once the sun sets. It is not unusual for daytime highs to be in excess of 100 degrees and the nighttime temperatures to drop 50 degrees or less. The extremes of West Texas weather are unpredictable. searing heat can change to freezing cold overnight with the passage of a cold front in spring or autumn. During the rainy season, July through October, the water level of the Rio Grande can fluctuate drastically. After an 11-mile desert stretch, you enter another canyon with broken walls. The cliffs recede and finally arrive at the mouth of a dead river on the Texas side. It is the Maravillas Creek, which an early explorer described as a horrible desert arroyo leading northward for 100 miles or more. It has a channel large enough for the Hudson, but is utterly devoid of water. Maravilla means wonder or marvel. This is a very large drainage area which can flash flood after local rains in the cities of Alpine and Marathon. The mouth of the Maravillas Creek was once called Paseo de los Ladrones, or Outlaw Pass. In 1899, Robert T. Hill recorded in his journal that he saw almost no human life along the river except near Maravillas Creek, where one small band of cattle thieves were leisurely driving a herd of stolen cattle across the river into Mexico. Among this group of stragglers was an outlaw called Greasy Bill. 3 train robbers who looted the Southern Pacific in the 1890s also used this crossing while being pursued by the law. The locals say the mouth of the Maravillas Creek is the furthest away from nowhere of any place on earth. The area around Maravillas Creek also contains evidence of human occupation during the Archaic Age from 3000 to 500 BC. This evidence is best known and characterized from rock shelter sites, although open campsites are known. The combination of aridity and occurrence of archaeological material in rock shelters was essential to the preservation of such items as clothing, basketry, matting, and wooden implements which did not survive under ordinary circumstances. Many artifacts from this area provided data on Aboriginal technology and enabled a fairly accurate cultural reconstruction. Pictographs on rock shelter walls are well represented and consist of conventionalized human and animal figures. Adopted to a nomadic existence, the early Indians were dependent on small game and a variety of plants such as mesquite beans, yucca, prickly pear cactus, and the century plants. 2 groups of Paleo-Indians range throughout the entire area of the lower canyons, although most of the remains have been found near water sources. These early inhabitants were hunting and food-gathering peoples who roamed from place to place, occupying caves and rock shelters on an intermittent basis. The Borland Canyon site is an ancient lithic work area best known for its pictograph panel. It has been speculated that these pictographs are a sort of roadmap showing the travel routes to other campgrounds. Another prehistoric site in the lower canyons is the Cueva de la Puerta Grande. This large cave in Mexico has a steep slope that continues over 100 feet into the bluff and then levels off to form a living area that was once 90 feet in diameter. This cave shows sites of continuous use for thousands of years before the ceiling collapsed, rendering it useless. This is known because during the prehistory of the Trans-Pecos region, there are 7 cultural periods. During each cultural period, the land was exploited, and artifacts, such as arrowheads and tools, were constructed in such a manner that they can be identified with a particular period.